Some people hate annuities, some people love annuities. There's a lot of confusion about annuities. In today's video, I want to share with you the 5 different types of annuities that most people are looking at. And then I also want to show you from a retirement planning standpoint, if you were going to use any of these types of annuities, how you could determine if they were appropriate or if they were needed for your financial situation. In 2023, it was reported that about $360 billion were pumped into annuity contracts. And that was partly because of the interest rate environment. It was partly because of fear over the market volatility. I think it's partly a result of so many people heading into retirement right now. But there are 5 primary types of annuities you need to know about if you're thinking about retirement planning. The first type is called a SPIA. SPIA stands for Single Premium Immediate Annuity. And this is the type of annuity that you'll find a lot of people in the academic community recommend for people that are doing retirement planning when it's appropriate. What a SPIA is basically, well, first of all, let me say that all annuities are insurance contracts. The way that a SPIA works is that you give an insurance company, you purchase an annuity, a single premium immediate annuity from an insurance company, and in return, in exchange, they're going to guarantee income for you. And you can decide if you want that income to be a lifetime annuity where it pays out as long as you're alive. You can choose to have an annuity that pays out for both your lifetime and your spouse's lifetime. As long as you're alive, somebody's going to receive the income. You can have an annuity that has a period certain, meaning that it will pay out for 10 years no matter what, whether you're alive or dead, and it will also pay for a lifetime. So there's a lot of different ways you can structure these single premium immediate annuities. But essentially what it is guaranteed income. Think of the single premium immediate annuity as a pension. That's essentially what you're buying. You're buying guaranteed income. That income is usually not inflation adjusted, so that's one of the big problems with annuity contracts, these types of immediate annuities. Okay, the next type of annuity you want to know about is called a DIA, Deferred Income Annuity. This is when you purchase a contract from an insurance company. It's going to guarantee income, but that income is not going to start until some point in the future. So maybe you've identified that in 10 years you're going to want some type of guaranteed income coming in. That's where you could use a deferred income annuity. The next type of annuity is called a MYGA, which stands for Multi-Year Guarantee Annuity. MYGAs work a lot like CDs at a bank. You purchase a MYGA with a certain amount of money. The insurance company is going to guarantee a certain interest rate for a set period of time. Usually there's a little bit of liquidity in some of these contracts. You might be able to take out 10% per year, or maybe after the first contract year take out 10% per year. But it's going to be considered a safe place for your money to grow at a fixed interest rate. So think of a MYGA like a bank CD, but it's being issued by an insurance company. At the end of the term, so let's say you buy like a 3-year MYGA, at the end of that term, you're free to do whatever you want with the money. You can pull it out, you can do something different with it, you can leave it in the contract. This could be an advantage or a disadvantage on these MYGAs, but they do grow tax deferred. So you know that if you have your money in a CD, you're going to get taxed on the interest income every year, even if you don't spend the interest that you're earning in the CD. But in the MYGA, it's a tax-deferred vehicle. It's not a retirement, it's not an IRA or a 401k, but it is tax-deferred, meaning that you won't receive a 1099 on that interest income until you pull it out. And so what some people will do is something called a 1035 exchange, where once that once that MYGA matures, say in 3 years, they will just 1035 exchange it into a new contract to be able to continue to defer the interest and not have to pay taxes on it till they're ready to pay the taxes on it. So that's what we call a MYGA. So we had SPIA, DIA, MYGA. The next one that we see people purchasing are things called fixed indexed annuities. FIA is how they're often referred. A fixed indexed annuity is kind of like a MYGA in that it guarantees a minimum interest rate that it's going to pay. But the way that it credits interest to you is determined. Your money's usually linked to some index, such as the Dow Jones Industrial Average or commodities or the S&P 500. And so the insurance company says, okay, you're not actually invested in those indexes, but we will credit you interest on how those indexes do. So for example, you might have a contract that says, hey, if the market goes up 7%, you get up to 7%. But if the market does 10%, they cap you out at 7. Or maybe it's a participation rate where they say if the market goes up 10% and you have a 50% participation rate, you would get 5%. You'd get 50% of what the market returns are. And then it locks in those returns every year. So that's what's called a fixed indexed annuity. The next type of annuity that you want to be aware of is what's called a variable annuity. A variable annuity is basically kind of like buying mutual funds, but you're buying them inside a wrapper called a variable annuity, which gives you that tax deferral. And it's going to be the most volatile because you're invested in the stock market. Your money will go up and down in value. And fees are definitely something you want to be aware of on every type of annuity. You always want to ask the question, what are the fees going to be? From my experience, when I've evaluated these variable annuity contracts, typically that's where we see the highest fees being charged. So those are the 5 different types of annuities. You've got SPIAs, single premium immediate annuity, DIAs, which are deferred income annuities, MIGAs, which work kind of like CDs, multi-year guarantee annuities that just pay a fixed rate of interest, FIAs, fixed indexed annuities that credit interest based on some outside index, and then variable annuities. And these are kind of like mutual funds. They go up and down in value with the market. A few other things you need to be aware of on these annuities, especially on the fixed indexed annuities and on the variable annuities, they have something called riders that can be applied to them or added to them. And there's not always a cost, but there's typically a cost. What you'll run across oftentimes are lifetime income benefit riders, guaranteed withdrawal benefit riders, and death benefit riders. And so what these riders do is they will guarantee, like the income riders usually will guarantee some set amount of income in the future without having to annuitize your contract. So you don't give up control like you do in a SPIA, but they can still produce income for you for a guaranteed lifetime. And then with the death benefit riders, what they do is they usually say, hey, we'll guarantee that the income account value, the account value will grow at some set percentage each year. And then if you never use the money, that death benefit will be paid to your heirs. And there can be restrictions on how the heirs can access that money. So those are some of the riders that come along. And that's where fees can really start to add up on some of these annuity contracts. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to share with you from a retirement planning standpoint how we can use the retirement budget calculator to determine if an annuity is appropriate, and if it is, where it would fit in your overall plan. Okay, so now we're in the retirement budget calculator, and I'm going to show you how you can determine, and if you're going to purchase an annuity, where these different tools might fit in your overall plan. The first thing I want to talk about again is the SPIAs and the DIAs, the single premium immediate annuity or the deferred income annuity. Again, remember, these are like pensions, so it's more guaranteed income. One of the things we did in the retirement budget calculator is we created this secure income score. And what the secure income score does is it looks at how much guaranteed income do you have compared to your essential expenses over 2 people's life expectancy. And we set the benchmark at 80%. So we said, look, if 80% of your essential expenses are covered by guaranteed income, you're going into retirement in a really strong position. So you can see in this case, this couple is at 66%. They're in the red. They don't have quite that 80% benchmark. So they may be a candidate for a single premium immediate annuity. So we come over to the assets and liabilities and we say, okay, they have $600,000 in a savings account. How much money would we have to put into an annuity to get them up to that 80%? There's a website out there where you can get immediate annuity quotes. And so you can see in their situation, we just ran some quotes from immediateannuities.com. And we found that if they took $200,000 and bought a joint life annuity contract, it would pay out $1,128 per month for the rest of their lives. So let's go back into the calculator now, and we'll reduce this by 200,000. So we'll say they have 400,000 now because they used 200,000 to purchase the annuity. And then we'll come over here and we'll add that annuity income, which gives them $1,128 of guaranteed income for the rest of both of their lives. And then we come back over to the dashboard, and now you can see 81, they hit that secure income score of 81%. So in their case, if they want more confidence heading into retirement, they just want to know, hey, look, in a worst case scenario, essential expenses means we can't afford to not have that money. This is a place where an immediate annuity might be a good fit for them if they tend to be worried about things like stock market volatility. Okay, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is the deferred income annuity. So maybe they don't want the annuity to start now, but they want it to start at some point in the future. That's where a deferred income annuity could come into play. So this is maybe they're worried that, if they live beyond age 85, their expenses are going to be going up over time. And they're like, I just like to set aside a little bit of money so that when we get to age 85, we'll have that additional guaranteed income that kicks in at that point. So that's where they might want to use a deferred income annuity. And there's different things like qualified longevity annuity contracts that some people will take a portion of their retirement funds and set aside in those types of contracts for guaranteed future income. Okay, the next thing I want to talk to you about is the MYGA. The MYGA is, again, remember, think of those MYGAs as like CDs. It's safe money. It's just going to earn a fixed interest rate. And so in this scenario, you can see this couple, they're going to need withdrawals the first 3 years of retirement for about $41,000. So that's typically going to be cash that's coming out. Then starting in year 4, 5, and 6, they're going to need $43,000. So with this $43,000, because the time period's short before we're going to need that money, maybe they would want to keep that money safe. And that's where they might want to consider like a bank CD for some of their money, or a MYGA, multi-year guarantee annuity, because they could purchase an annuity, put the money in there and say, hey, this is money that we're going to spend in 3 years. As soon as that annuity contract is finished, then we're just going to have the company pay it out to us over the course of 3 years and take withdrawals every month until that money's spent down. That's where you might consider a MYGA in your overall plan. Some people will use this third bucket to consider things like fixed annuities or fixed indexed annuities or variable annuities that have income riders on it. So they might say, hey, this is money that we know that we're going to need for income at a future point. We just want to have this guaranteed income coming from one of these fixed indexed annuities or a variable annuity, and that's where they would put it. And then for most people, this last bucket is really, most people don't put annuities in this last bucket. This is really more of a growth bucket. This is where you're going to keep your stocks and bonds and mutual funds and exchange traded funds. Now, the great thing about the calculator is you may not need any annuities, or maybe you can increase that secure income score just by postponing Social Security to 70. That would be one way to do it. Or maybe you could reduce your essential expenses by paying off your mortgage early, and that would increase your secure income score. So there's a lot of different ways to go about planning, but there's just a lot of confusion about annuities. So I wanted to take a minute and talk about the different types of annuities, and then if you were going to use annuities, when you would know if they were appropriate and where would they fit in your overall plan. A lot of information out there. There's some people that love annuities. They think they should be used for everything, and some people are only licensed to sell annuities, so of course that's the only thing that they talk to you about. There's other people that are investment people. They're only investment licensed. They don't have any insurance licensing, and as a result, they tend to not recommend insurance contracts. Some of these annuities can have high fees associated with them, so you want to be taking all that into consideration. All annuities are different because they're issued by insurance companies and they're contract driven. So you really need to understand the contracts and what you're getting into before you purchase it. And more importantly, you want to understand how the annuity works in the context of your overall plan. And that's why we're a big fan of always creating the plan first and then going out and figuring out what are the best financial tools for you. But one of the things I've learned over the years, the two tools that I found that people hate the most are annuities and reverse mortgages. And I'm always trying to tell people, look, these are just financial tools. Everything has pros and cons associated with them. And there's times when all of these things can be appropriate. You just want to make sure that it's going to be appropriate for your specific situation. Okay, thanks so much. I hope you found this helpful.